Good morning and welcome to your early morning intuitive guidance. I am Dr. Bonnie Nussbaum, America's kick-ass coach and psychologist, here with some wisdom to begin your day well. And please excuse the outfit, but I am on cleaning duty today, so 7 rooms to clean. It should be an interesting day. So today I received the guidance that rather than pulling a card from a deck, we were to read a chapter from Outrageous Openness by Tosha Silver, which is an amazing little book. If you haven't ever read it, well worth the read. The subtitle is Letting the Divine Take the Lead. Letting the Divine Take the Lead. And this chapter is entitled The Bliss of No. There's a quote at the beginning. Don't forget that no is a really, really complete sentence. Dita Minnelli. So I'm just going to read the chapter. They're very short, page and a half. So it says, my friend Dita mentioned that she had spent the day home from work. I asked, concerned, why, were you sick? No, she shrugged. I just felt like it. I was awestruck by the uber-Sagittarian offhand way she said that. I might have needed to add, because you know I've been working day and night, or maybe I thought I'd come down with a cold if I didn't stop. Good morning, Cindy. Welcome. But in an elegant little, I just felt like it. Wow. Exhilarating unknown terrain for my diligent Capricorn self. Want to know how hyper-responsible I used to be? Have you ever gotten those pages of awful address labels that charities send you covered with flags or teddy bears or chirping birds? It took me years to realize that I could just shred that crap and stop defacing my mail. About the same time, I figured out that I didn't have to answer online surveys from my Office Max family about my recent shopping experience. And that I saw in a lightning bolt of visionary awareness that I could say a quick goodbye when a certain wingnut relative went on a homophobic rabid rant or two. I think I was 40. And every day it gets easier. Sometimes saying no at the right time just makes more and more space for the supreme pleasure of saying yes. I'm going to read that sentence again. Sometimes saying no at the right time just makes more and more space for the supreme pleasure of saying yes. I gave a reading to a well-known novelist named Bryn. She confessed that her Oakland apartment was so crammed with piles of unanswered fan mail she could hardly move. The overflowing bags, some 8 or 9 years old, mocked and tortured her. As a dutiful Virgo, she figured if people had gone through the trouble of writing, they deserved a response. But after wrestling all day with one manuscript or another, the last thing she wanted was more work. I thought mail turning her home into an obstacle course was awfully symbolic. When I suggested that she just bless the letters and burn them all, Bryn nearly wept with happiness. She'd wanted this all along. Bryn wrote to say that after she had released the mail, her whole life had opened like a sunflower. Her books were her offering. They were enough. So, just let that percolate for a minute. Because I too was raised to be very dutiful and to do the right thing, and all of these rules about how, especially women, were supposed to behave. Many of them are good, and many of them in their right time are good. Good morning, Lori. But oftentimes this stuff takes over our life, and pretty soon we end up buried under a blizzard of should, ought, have to, and must, and we've totally made no space for want. So when we can release that which no longer serves us, it makes space for what was meant to be there in the first place. So I'll give you an example. My parents have a box. I mean, it's a big, like a boot box on top of their refrigerator that are full of those bloody address labels. Good morning, Diane. And again, it was we really should use these. We really, take a look at your shoulds. Wherever you say I should, I want you to take a look at that. Could you replace that should with I want, or it's in my best interest to, or some other way to take a look at, is this really something I want? Or is this something I have suckered myself into believing I have to do? Okay? Should is one of those cue words. And oftentimes, if we apply that word should to something that we really do want to do, I really should make a time to get together with my friend Jane. When we put the word should on there, oftentimes we're setting ourselves up to dig our heels in and we don't make the phone call. So we're cutting ourselves off from something we really would like to do. How crazy is that? So I want to read this line again because I just think this is so important. Sometimes saying no at the right time just makes more and more space for the supreme pleasure of saying yes. There's another amazing book that I know I've talked about on here before, and it's called Year of Yes by Shonda Rhimes. And it chronicles her whole year after she decided. Her sister made a comment at Thanksgiving under her breath, "You never say yes to anything." 6 little words. Good morning, Kathy. 6 little words, but they changed her life. You never say yes to anything. So she decided that for a year, she was going to say yes to everything. Did that get her in some interesting positions? Oh, yes. Did she learn a ton? Yes. Did she continue doing her year of yes after the year was over? Yes. But again, I think for many of us, that preliminary step of beginning to say no is so critical. Until we make space for yes to happen, how are we going to do that? How are we going to bring a yes in when we have no room because we've got so filled things up with things that we didn't want to say yes to? So saying no to those address labels, saying no to getting together with someone who really doesn't feed your soul, saying no to extra work at work simply because nobody else is saying yes, doesn't mean you have to say yes. Is it in your highest and best good? That doesn't mean you don't ever take one for the team, but if you're the only one taking one for the team, take a look at that. Oh, Jane will do it. She always does this crappy stuff. Jane, you're done doing the crappy stuff. Everybody needs to help shoulder the load, not just you. Quit being a martyr, all right? Sometimes saying no at the right time just makes more and more space for the supreme pleasure of saying yes. How cool is that? How cool is that? And there are certain people who are just so prone to martyring themselves for all of this piddly little shit, but it adds up over time. This chews up 2 minutes. This chews up 5 minutes. This chews up a half an hour. Pretty soon you've hemorrhaged a huge amount of time during your day that could have been used for something that actually serves you, serves others well, is something you want to do, etc. So how about test driving a few no's today? And I'm going to have you practice with something that I've used this with clients and for 30 years, and it's worked really well. When someone asks you to do something, practice saying no. Even if you want to say yes, practice saying no. Once you hang up the phone or they walk away or whatever it is, then take a little time to think about, do I really want to do this? Want to do this. Not the shoulds, oughts, have tos, and musts. Want. If yes, then go back to that person and say, I've reconsidered, I'm willing to do this. Okay? But you've had then the practice of saying no. Plus, I'll guarantee you there will be many, many of them that you'll decide, no, I'm kind of glad I said no to that one. I'm not going to undo that one. practice saying no. Practice saying no with people you're comfortable with. Practice saying no to people you struggle with. Notice, be that curious observer. This is an experiment. Let's see how you do with no. And again, the process of saying no is so that you can open up your opportunities to say yes to the things that you really want to say yes to. When you have your whole life filled with yeses you've said to the flotsam and jetsam that you really didn't want to say yes to, there is no space for saying yes to the things that you really want. So you must practice no to open up that sacred space for the yeses you want to give. Hopefully that makes sense to you. If you have some more thoughts on it, please put it in the feed and we'll have a chat about that. But this is an interesting concept about how when we let go of what doesn't serve us, those yeses to the things we didn't want to say yes to, it opens up the sacred space for something we do want. The yeses that we wish we could say yes to, but we haven't made space for them. So this is that making of space through the use of the word no. So have a great day. We'll see you again tomorrow. Again, I'll show you the cover of the book. It's Outrageous Openness by Tosha Silver, Letting the Divine Take the Lead. We'll see you again tomorrow. Have a great day. Practice your no's, and let's see what you get. Remember, you're capable of far more than you think you are.